All right, so today we're going to discuss and observe a little video that I just watched called, the thumbnail says "Keep It Simple," and then the title is "The Cheaper Your Pleasures, the Richer You'll Be: Minimalist Philosophy." The channel is Einzelganger, Einzelganger. All right, so this particular video discusses the Stoic philosophy of simplicity. He begins his video by quoting Epicurus, and who stated that he kept his pleasures simple. For him, that was Greek wine and cheese and bread. I, of course, really relate with this. For me, really, being rich means having orange juice. Sounds kind of silly, but really is. There have been times in my life where I didn't feel like I could afford orange juice. And at a certain point, I just decided to begin buying it. It felt like a great luxury. And I think there's a reason why I struggle to jump into this subject, and that is that I don't I've always been a little bit this way. I had a tendency to think more simply and not want a lot. So I don't feel like I can really speak to the person whose passions are for things. You just can't help but want more and more. But I'll do my best. I may have a few suggestions that may help. The first thing that occurs to me is that it seems like we've been sold a bill of goods, and so many of our desires are fed to us by the media machine. Housing is a really good example of this. It's absolutely kind of crazy what it's come to. That's why a lot of people are just opting out of housing. They're saying, I'll live in a van, I'll live in a bus, I'll live in a trailer. I'll stuff me and my wife and my 3 kids into this travel trailer, and we'll just travel around, save myself the $2,500 a month that I'd pay in the city. All because the laws that exist surrounding housing have just ground the face of the poor. And the ideas have also ground the face of the poor. So a lot of people are just deciding to let those who want to play that game play it and to opt out. We're also sold on kind of a way of life, like the idea that you should go to a job and take a vacation. That's a really expensive way to live. It seems like the job is what keeps you paying that mortgage. The job makes you need a vacation. And then when you go to take a vacation, there's a bunch of people waiting to market to you for that too. So that you have to pay even more expensive rent while you're going on vacation. But we're seeing more and more that this isn't really necessary either. I love a video I saw recently, a few years back, about a guy who talked about basically how he traveled to, I think, 40 some odd countries. More than that, he traveled all over for literally nothing. He left with no money, and he just take jobs along the way. And he traveled until he got his fill of it, and so that his life was his travel, and his travel was his life, and his job kind of fell in where wherever he happened to be. So it seems like we've been sold a bill of goods on so many of these things. And it seems like there's almost no pleasure which really will be deprived of you, even big pleasures. Though you can't do them all at once or in quite as rapid succession as you'd like, but that's okay. You tend to enjoy them more that way. So perhaps these are things that could help people who think that they want so many things and so many pleasures. I propose that we are going to discover that the person is richest who lives what people would probably call a more minimalistic life. Many of these Stoic philosophers were, one of them was a king, and others of them, they could have had more things if they'd wanted them, but they wanted to be truly rich. Another person he quotes in the video is Henry David Thoreau. Henry David Thoreau said that he owned every farm that he passed by. He just didn't require a deed. He drank in the beautiful fields, the beautiful animals, the beautiful farmhouse, and he locked it up within his bosom. That was all he needed, and he didn't have to pay the mortgage. So that truly, this is the strange thing, that old saying of Jesus where he said that the poor will inherit the earth. It's a very literal thing. People who want to be able to hold on to things, they end up rather poor in this way. They have a hard time enjoying what they've kept. They buy 5 expensive cars and they can't even keep up on the maintenance. They've got to hire somebody to do it for them, and they're working so hard that it's hard to enjoy them the way they'd really like. And as soon as they get a new one, they realize that they're tired of it and they want a new one. And so they're not so rich as they think. But it's fascinating, that old thing that Jesus said when he said the poor will inherit the earth. So the poor get everything. The Henry David Thoreaus get every farm. They get every highway, every lake, every place that they visit. They wrap it up and take it home. And you end up discovering that there's no pleasure that you really have to abstain from. For example, I think about like a fast car. It might be fun to drive a fast car, but the truth is that you can actually rent fast cars. They're pretty expensive to rent. But if that's what you really want, if that's your desire, then it's a very simple thing. If you've opted out of the mortgage and you've opted out of all the shenanigans that everybody tells you that you need, it's a very strange thing that you end up discovering that you have means to spare. And so you take a day and you can go rent that car that you thought that you needed, and drive around fast and get a ticket. You discover that it's no better really than driving a Toyota around like a chicken with your head cut off, moving so fast down the streets. And if it's for status, I don't even quite know what to say. That you're going to have to, pray, I guess, and, seek for guidance from the divine and the unseen place to understand that demon, to rid yourself of that scarcity. That's a terrible master, obviously, trying to impress people. And then, so another thought too, vacations. I say that if you're enamored with a place, then go to that place. I guess I already mentioned this with the fellow that went so many different places. And if you've gotten past the idea that you have to have money before you leave, well, then you don't even have to have the job. You just leave. So we end up discovering that, too, one of the great things that keeps people from this great and rich life of the poor, of the simple, one of the things that keeps them from embracing that life, which is so much more full and rich, is a kind of cowardice is the word that comes to mind, but it may be the wrong word. It's scarcity may be the right word, wherein we believe that there's not enough or there won't be enough. But the man who's found this thing that the fellow described in this video that was put out there in the Stoic philosophies and echoed by Henry David Thoreau and others, this incredibly rich life is available for those who can live a life where they have a degree of faith within their hearts and their souls. So I decide I want to go to Amsterdam, and I just begin my travel there. I have a family, perhaps we buy an old trailer and slowly make our way toward the coast where we're going to catch the plane. Or maybe we make our way towards the airport. Maybe we get out of a bunch of the things that we think we need, and the money for the ticket slowly accumulates. Or we just rattle around in the country that we live. We realize that we can live on the proverbial wine and cheese and bread of the, I can't remember his name now, um, of the Stoic philosopher. Maybe we'd like to go to Amsterdam, but we think, maybe the Grand Canyon will do. And that can be really helpful. And of course, what ends up really happening at the end of this journey of kind of this minimalistic Stoic way of life, as you embrace it, the end of it is that you discover that you only really need, and really that you only really want, those things that serve the simple pleasures of your vocation. And if the universe has called you to the road to be a wanderer, it's a very simple thing, because you can do so on a shoestring. And if the universe calls you to be a father or mother of 12 children, all running about, and if it calls you to work in the earth and perhaps to train those kids to dig in the earth, then you end up finding that that's all that you really desire. And, a trip in the truck down to the store to get the hardware store to get that thing to fix the plow or to fix the rototiller or whatever is exactly the travel you need. And that the simple pleasure of the old truck you drive and the sound it makes and the places you pass on your way to town are exactly what you want. Simple pleasures so far exceed the grand dreams laid out for us by the marketers. I pray that you'll find yours. God bless you.